Welcome back to my reviews of chapters of the JOJOLands. The first thing you may notice is that we've been gone for a while. I'll go into specifics at the end of the video, but for now just know that I'll release the parts that I missed and get back on track to releasing them monthly. Anyways, on to the chapter. We open back where we left off, Rohan tying up Paco and Usagi and Dragona remaining the only member of the gang still standing as they marvel at the fact that the diamond continues to somehow teleport from their hands to somewhere else. Dragona is clearly stressing out as Rohan calls the police on the burglars, and he confirms that he knows that Jodio is outside. I think that this intro is done well, and it reignites the grand mystery that has spanned multiple chapters at this point about how this diamond is moving by itself. As Rohan approaches them, Dragona picks up the diamond and begins to run away before it suddenly appears in a coffee cup all the way in Rohan's kitchen. On top of the diamond moving, all the money Paco stole suddenly comes out of his pockets, and as Rohan says, it came back. We now have confirmation that this doesn't have anything to do with the diamond. There is something about Rohan or his house that allows objects to seemingly return to him. Rohan is finally about to tie up Dragona before it suddenly starts raining inside. Rohan, who has already seen the rain, knows that it's Jodio outside, and uses the opportunity to capture him. We also have Rohan tell us how November rain works, with it being unable to rain on a large area. As Rohan searches, he walks over his carpet, which causes the ground to crumble underneath and for Jodio to get the jump on him. Jodio uses his weighted rain to break the ground under the carpet, and led Rohan to that area. I am so glad we didn't see another fight that was just November rain weighing his opponents down. One of my criticisms for the JOJOLands at first was that I was scared November rain wouldn't be used creatively, but here we see it used very well. Jodio delivers a hilarious line and remains to be the best drawn character in this part. I don't know why, but his design, shading, and overall posing really lend themselves to Araki's newer style. Paco and Usagi go to beat up Rohan, but before they can, Jodio stops them. He says that he respects Rohan, and Rohan seems to take the compliment. Dragona brings up the obvious problem, which is that the police are still coming and they can't even steal the diamond because it keeps teleporting away from them. Rohan agrees with Dragona and claims that not only will they now leave empty-handed, but they are in even more danger now that they've captured Rohan. Jodio asks Rohan to call the police and tell them that it was a mistake, but in classic Rohan fashion, he refuses, in obvious callback to part 4. Jodio suddenly changes the subject and begins talking about Rohan's manga, saying that he's a fan. This led him to find the many photos of volcanoes and eventually make his way to the safe, before he stole the lava rocks that were in there. Jodio seems to have finally solved the mystery by confirming that the diamond was not the most valuable thing in that safe, but the rocks. I love this twist. It's a great explanation for all the weird stuff that's been happening, and I love seeing a more intelligent side to Jodio. He's so cutting here, and it's great. He admits that he doesn't actually know why the rocks work the way they do, but he knows that they're valuable, leading him to threaten to smash them apart and throw them into the ocean if Rohan prevents them from getting back home. To entice him even further, Jodio even destroys one of the rocks in front of Rohan, greatly to his dismay. Dragona gives the diamond to Paco as they begin to leave, but Rohan asks Jodio to stay. He admits that he finds Jodio interesting and gives him a word of advice, telling him to never let go of that lava rock. He then tells Jodio that he will become filthy rich if he keeps it, perhaps giving us the mechanism in which Jodio will make all of his money in this part. I also like what Rohan says here: go ahead and want, embrace ambition, don't lose heart, climb higher. It's a heartfelt sentiment from Rohan, and I like how Araki chose to have Rohan respect Jodio rather than hate him. Jodio questions the lava rock one last time, but Rohan avoids the answer and claims that they will meet again. I hope that this does happen. At first I didn't like that Rohan was in this part, but to be honest, he's grown on me. Like I keep saying, I really like his relationship with Jodio. Finally, Rohan tells Jodio not to trust his comrades. This is super interesting. While there isn't any concrete evidence yet, the idea that Jodio could be betrayed by a member of his gang is super intriguing to me. It would especially be heartbreaking if it was Dragona, but Paco and Usagi have also really grown on me, so it'd be unfortunate to see them go. The gang discusses how they can now carry the valuable items without issue, likely because Jodio has the rock. But as the chapter ends, we see 3 cats who were at Rohan's house begin to follow the gang into the jungle. I think that this honestly might have been the best chapter so far. The only one that rivals it to me is the first. I really like where the story is going from here. So much of this chapter was perfect. A satisfying solution to the diamond mystery, good ability used by Jodio, great moments between him and Rohan, the lava rocks introduction, and finally the idea that Jodio can't trust his gang members. Also, these final panels hint at the next chapters potentially being our first stand battle. It would make sense at this point, as the next chapter is the 6th, and at that point in JoJolion, we were already very far into the first battle. We've already seen what is seemingly the cat's ability with this string earlier, so I think it'll be fun to see how the gang fights them. As to who I think the traitor is, Usagi is the obvious choice. He came out of nowhere to join the gang and just seems like the most likely to have ulterior motives. But like I said before, Dragona would be really heartbreaking. Overall, this was an amazing chapter, and I'm excited to read and review the next one. Alright, now here's where I explain why I stopped this series for a bit. Full transparency, they just weren't getting enough views for me to justify making them. It felt like I had to release the video as soon as I could after the chapter released, which was sometimes really stressful. But with how many people have been asking me to bring the series back, I decided that I should just do it. There's another long JoJo video being made, but before that, a retrospective on another anime will come out. Alright, thanks for watching, and see you soon with Chapter 6.